Was this victory to start June the start of the Arizona Diamondbacks turnaround, or should we abandon all hope with the Corbin Burnes injury?
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Millard Thomas, host of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, here breaking down Dbacks news coverage and insight, of course. Welcome into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, your team every day. I'm your wonderful host, Millard Thomas. Go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com, to see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. On today's Locked On Dbacks podcast, we're going to be discussing the Dbacks' first win in the month of June. Should we start to believe in a turnaround, or should we abandon all hope with the Corbin Burnes injury? Was Brent Strom scapegoated with his firing this past offseason? And then we'll discuss the rotation shaking up and can it survive with that Corbin Burnes injury. So a whole bunch I want to talk to you guys about on today's podcast. But first, I want to say thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms. So please continue to tell your friends. And one of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. We try to go live on YouTube Sunday through Thursday after D-backs games when we can. And if you watch this show live, don't be afraid. Drop comments down in the YouTube section. I want it to be an interactive show. I'm going to be reading comments, putting them on the screen as the show progresses. So please drop something in the comments section. And don't forget, follow me on social media so you can get notified when I go live at CreatorThomas24 for my personal account on Twitter. Look up Locked On Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram, for the podcast handle, or hit that little bell icon on YouTube to get notified when I go live. But now let's get into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. All right, back here on the Locked On D-backs podcast. Now let's talk about if this victory to start the month of June, is this the start of the D-backs turnaround, or is after that Corbin Burnes injury, should we abandon all hope? Because the D-backs got, I don't know if you would say salvaged the homestand. I think that's what Torey Lovullo said in the presser. D-backs played Pirates and Nationals, looked terrible, able to avoid the sweep against the Nationals with a win on Sunday. And in the win, we did see some positive things. Corbin Burnes looked fantastic. The bullpen for once stepped up in a big way. Beeks, Mena, Miller, Shelby Miller, and Justin Martinez closed it out in a strong fashion. And so when you look at the D-backs right now, very reminiscent to what they were in 2024, right? D-backs last season entered the month of June losing 6 of their last 7 games. They were 25-32 when the month of May ended. So let's not forget, the D-backs have been in this situation before. They were even worse at this point last year in 2024, which is crazy to think about because the vibes have been so bad for the D-backs this year. We've seen so many wins just be flushed down the drain. And somehow this team is still ahead of the pace of the team that won 89 games last year and almost made it to the postseason. And the fact that that team won 89 games last year and they had a worse record than the D-backs at this point of the season, it's kind of crazy, actually. And it all started in the month of June for the 2024 D-backs. When you look at their record in the month of June last season, they went 16-11 that month. They entered the month 25-32. They went 16-11 right the rest of the way and put themselves within a game of 500 entering July, get to the All-Star break, and they were able to set themselves up for the second half of the season by being right at 500 by the All-Star break. And that is kind of the scenario the D-backs are currently looking at if they want to get into the mix for this 2025 season. They essentially have to play above 500 baseball the rest of the month and just become a 500 team by the time you get to the All-Star break. If the D-backs can do that, they will have a chance to turn around this season because they still have a lot of talent on this roster. So you definitely believe there's potential for this D-backs team to do what they did last season, but you can't deny when you watch a game like today and you see Corbin Burnes go out with injury, it just takes so much shine off the win today. It felt like a feel-good win, felt like maybe we're building momentum. Like I just said, June was the month where it all started for the D-backs last season when you think about their turnaround in the second half. But to get the win today and lose Corbin Burnes, and I'm not speculating, but if you read his lips during the game, during the broadcast, it looked like he said his elbow was done. It looked like he said it was dead. We have an MRI coming in the morning. That is so huge for this D-backs team because if Corbin Burnes ends up missing a lot of time, multiple weeks, multiple months, maybe the rest of the season, like that is going to hurt this D-backs team so much. And when you look at the rest of the National League, every team is playing good right now. The NL West, the NL East, the top of the NL Central, like the teams in the National League are so good. And the D-backs right now, they're going through so many different lulls throughout the season where maybe it's their bullpen, now it's their rotation that seems like it's struggling, right? The offense didn't have a single hit after the first inning in the finale against the Washington Nationals. And so when I look at this D-backs team, last 2 years, they have built holes for themselves early in the season, right? Just dug themselves a hole where they have to now climb out of it and get hot if they want to make it to the postseason. Plus, they've lost so many early matchups to National League to National League teams. Like a lot of those tiebreakers, the D-backs are also going to lose out on. And so for this D-backs team, the rest of the season 2025, they're going to have to play such a good brand of baseball to get back into it. And they may not have their best starter to do it as well. We did see some positivity from the bullpen today. You do love to see that. Justin Martinez, Shelby, Beeks, Mena, like that looked like a pretty good core four, but can you trust the bullpen day after day? Like, I'm not going to lie. When Burnes came out that game today, the Nationals were plus 700, and I tried to put money on FanDuel on the Nationals. I got there too late. It dropped down to like plus 340 by the time I got on, but I was ready to drop some money down on the Nationals with a 3-run lead for the D-backs and the bullpen having to get like 15 outs to end the game. I did not think it was going to happen. D-backs, thankfully, were able to get it done. The bullpen was able to step up, but this D-backs team has to start playing with a higher level of consistency than what they did today, than what we've seen the whole month of May. Like, as we've discussed, you have to throw this month of May away and pray June can be the turnaround for the D-backs because we've seen things like Fott start to go out of control. Corbin Carroll's been in a slump. Like, we need our players to start picking it up and getting hot because the season is going to get short really quickly. And if the D-backs don't start playing better baseball, this is going to look like the Phoenix Suns 2.0, which is something that we just do not want to see. And so I'm going to be rooting for this team, but I can't say I'm confident from what I've seen for this team to rally back in the second half of the season. I know they did it last year, but the vibes feel worse in 2025. The team surrounding the D-backs feel better. And it's just a lot to expect a team to become the hottest team in baseball for the second year in a row for the last like 3.5 months of the season. And so I wonder if the D-backs can really turn it around. We'll stay locked on, of course. We'll watch every game, but my confidence level is not that high. And we've been doing a little chaos meter on the podcast every Sunday with the D-backs playing this bad. We'll do a little chaos meter to say, where are we at 1 through 10 of our feeling of the D-backs missing the postseason, right? How chaotic on the scale are we? The higher you are, the closer to 10 you are, the feeling you have inside is that the D-backs are going to miss out on the postseason. And for me, that scale is probably at like a 7.5, close to an 8 right now, because I can't say I feel great about the D-backs making the playoffs after what I've seen in 2025. I think one of the reasons why the D-backs are in this position is because obviously of their pitching staff, and we'll discuss if Brent Strom was scapegoated and if that was a bad decision to fire him in segment number 2. But first, I want to talk to you guys about wonderful pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. My favorite Wonderful Pistachios I actually have right here. Sorry to the audio listeners only. You're going to have to go to YouTube for this one because right next to me, I got 3 of my favorite flavors here. And this is what is great about Wonderful Pistachios. Unsalted right here, no shell. Chili roasted, no shell. And then this one is roasted and salted with the shell. The great thing about Wonderful Pistachios is the variety. You could get salted, unsalted, with shell, no shell. Get a little kick to it if you wanted to. No matter what flavor you want, they have a variety and a profile that fits just for you. So please go get yourself some Wonderful Pistachios. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, I now want to discuss if Brent Strom was scapegoated and if he didn't deserve to be fired. After seeing how the D-backs pitching staff has performed in 2025, I feel like it's been a fair question to ask. Was firing Brent Strom the wrong decision? Because he was, I think, good for the D-backs the last couple of years. I know 2024 didn't go the D-backs direction, but I do feel like he was scapegoated. I do want to read a quick comment before we get into this segment, though, because I want to shout out our listeners, because Mo Crayon says, so what happens if Corbin Burnes is out for the season? Is Nelson back in the rotation? We'll discuss that in segment number 3. Mo Crayons, he wants to know if it's Tommy John surgery. We'll discuss that in segment number 3. But getting back to Brent Strom, obviously, this D-backs pitching staff has struggled this season, and it did struggle some last year in 2024. But the difference is the pitching staff in 2025, fully healthy. The pitching staff in 2024 was not. And that's why I believe Brent Strom was scapegoated last season, because the D-backs pitching staff, I don't even think was that bad last year. If you look at overall ERA, I think the D-backs were like a bottom 3rd team in Major League Baseball. But again, that wasn't on Brent Strom. Brandon Pfaadt was fantastic in the first half of last year. He struggled in the second half because he was like the only healthy D-back starter, 180 innings pitch. Now, I think we forgot, Ryan Nelson was second on the D-backs last year in innings pitch because of injuries. This rotation was not healthy at all last season, and that was the main reason they struggled. Ryan Nelson was fantastic down the stretch, the D-backs' best starter in the second half of the season. Zach Gallen, by the numbers, I don't think he was great, but the numbers still tell you Zach Gallen had a good year last year, and he was a guy who missed time with injury, only 148 innings pitched. Monty was bad. I don't think Monty was ever going to be good for the D-backs. Erod was bad last year. Erod is still bad. Merrill Kelly hit a 4.03 ERA. Again, I believe it was because of injuries. Kelly was cooking before he went down on the injured list. They just look at the rest of the guys in the bullpen. J Mart was fantastic. Ginkel, Thompson, Mansupply was solid down the stretch. Bryce Jarvis was very good before he got hurt as well. We know AJ Puck was fantastic for the D-backs. Gilbert Diaz was solid in his little cup of coffee. I didn't hate Blake Walston. Like, up and down the pitching staff, I think for the guys who were healthy, ended up being like pretty solid last year for the D-backs. Yes, there were guys like Slade Ciccone who weren't very good for the D-backs, or maybe like a Tommy Henry, but for the most part, injuries were the biggest reason why the D-backs rotation struggled in 2024. Not because of Brent Strom, not because of lack of talent or strategy or execution. I really do believe it was because of injuries. If Kelly didn't get hurt, if Gallen didn't get hurt last year, D-backs might have won 90 plus games considering how their offense performed in 2024. But instead, their pitching staff was so hurt throughout the year. And then we fired Brent Strom, and I think he was absolutely scapegoated, because I look at the D-backs pitching staff now under our new guy, Brian Kaplan, and you cannot tell me this D-backs pitching staff just doesn't look as good. A guy like Zach Allen, he looks completely lost out there on the mound, and it's not like his pitching coach can help him in any sort of way. I've never seen Zach Allen more lost, lack of confidence, just always searching for command or a feel for his fastball. Like, why has it been so bad for Zach Allen in 2025? What has happened to Brandon Pfaadt coming off a start where I saw someone online on Twitter call it the first yes hitter in Major League Baseball history? Like, we know about no hitters. They said Brandon Pfaadt threw a yes hitter. 8 earned runs and no outs recorded. That would have never happened under Brent Strom. Maybe, maybe not. But he was cruising the first month of the season. And now Brandon Pfaadt's coming off the month of May with an 8 ERA. Disgusting. Erod is actually worse than what he was last year in 2024. The bullpen in shambles. What has happened to Kevin Ginkel, Mantiply, Ryan Thompson, all these relievers left and right? Everyone is looking worse. Even a guy like Justin Martinez came into the year still looking fantastic, but when he had that outing where he's throwing like 97 miles per hour and clearly doesn't look right, like, how does his pitching coach not notice something like that, right? I just go up and down this pitching staff right now for the D-backs compared to last year, and I just feel like the staff this year is way underperforming compared to last year, way more underwhelming, and even the last few years for the D-back staff, because Strom was hired in 2022. Gallen had that scoreless streak. We've seen some fantastic seasons from Merrill Kelly, Ginkel, J-Mart, Mantiply, Ryan Thompson, Bryce Jarvis, Ryan Nelson, even a guy like Andrew Southrank have all been fantastic under Brent Strom. And now he's doing it up there in Pittsburgh, where they are having a very good season. The Pirates staff currently has a 3.92 ERA. The league average for staff ERA is 4.08. So the Pirates currently have a better staff than league average, which is insane to think about because we know the Pirates are not a very good team, but it's because of their offense. The Pirates pitching staff is actually very good, even outside of Paul Skeens. Keller's having a good year. Bailey Falter, Andrew Heaney's having a good year under Brent Strom. And then their bullpen is like doing just enough, definitely doing better than the D-backs bullpen. And so I look at what the D-backs pitching staff is doing now compared to previous years. I look at what the D-backs pitching staff is doing now compared to the Pirates, and it's like, yeah, I probably would have wanted to keep Brent Strom over firing him. The D-backs entered today with a 4.88 ERA as a team. Again, league average is 4.08. We're at 4.88. And a guy like Brian Kaplan, I like him, but he doesn't have the resume of a Brent Strom. His resume, it's like got hired in 2021 by the Phillies. That was his first major league professional opportunity. Now he's with the D-backs, and it's like he doesn't have a long track record of doing much. Brent Strom, meanwhile, has a long track record of turning good guys into the best pitcher in the sport, right? Turning Keuchel, the Garrett Coles, the Verlanders, like he was turning studs into Cy Young Award winners. We've seen Zach Gallen finish as a Cy Young finalist under Brent Strom. I think Merrill Kelly should have gotten some Cy Young votes under Brent Strom. And now you look at the D-backs front line, it's like, what is going on? I just believe Brent Strom was scapegoated by the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think it was injuries as to why the pitching staff struggled in 2024. Now you look at the pitching staff in 2025, and you say, yikes. You look at the talent on paper, and they should not be underperforming this much. And so we are going to put our faith in Brian Kaplan, hope he can turn it around. But I can't say that it doesn't feel like Brent Strom was scapegoated and fired for the wrong reasons at the end of 2024. And now we'll discuss the D-backs rotation shakeup and if it can survive a Corbin Burnes injury in segment number 3.
Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with the complete inventory of 200,000 parts from 400 top brands. You'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SHF for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, and now let's discuss if the D-backs rotation can survive a Corbin Burnes injury, because right now that rotation seems like it can be in shambles if Burnes goes on the injured list for 10 days, 60 days, maybe the rest of the season. Unfortunately, I hope that doesn't happen. At the end of the day, I hope Corbin Burnes does not miss the rest of the season. He's been a stud since returning from the injured list. And so another stint just absolutely sucks. Your first season in Arizona, the last thing you want is a season-ending injury where it takes you out for the rest of this year and potentially the rest of next season, especially when you're the highest paid pitcher in franchise history, like the highest paid player in franchise history. Like if we get news tomorrow, Corbin Burnes needs Tommy John surgery, wrap up the 2025 season. I am done. Put a fork in us. I do not want to watch another D-backs game if Corbin Burnes is hurt for the rest of the year. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it would not feel like the D-backs have a good chance of winning games and being a sustainable contender for the rest of 2025. Sans Corbin Burnes, because he's been so good this year, like I already said, been a stud since coming back from the injured list. And the other rub against it is the rotation sneakily is absolutely terrible. And when you actually look at the numbers for the D-backs rotation in 2025, if you rank worst ERAs in the National League, D-backs, I think, have 3 of the top 5 guys who have the worst ERAs, because Gallen's at 5.54, Fott's at 5.05, and then Erod's at 7.05, who looks like he's coming back into the rotation next week to face Cincinnati. And so I feel bad right now for this D-backs rotation with Corbin Burnes out. And I just don't know if this team can hold on without him. Like, the rotation is still super talented, but considering how the guys have actually pitched this season, how much faith should we have? Like, I still like Merrill Kelly. I still think he's going to be fine, but you can't tell me Merrill Kelly all of a sudden, recently looks a little bit more shaky. Back-to-back starts where Merrill Kelly has given up 4 earned runs. Like, that's not typical Merrill Kelly. Is he hitting a wall all of a sudden? I don't know. He is a guy in his mid-30s. Maybe age is starting to catch up with Kelly. Fott, he's coming off a terrible month of May. Like I said, he had like a 2.5 ERA after April. He has an 8.1 ERA in the month of May. Fott is someone who was so good the first half of last year. I thought he was pretty good most of this season, but after that start against the Nationals, absolutely just blew up his ERA. And now you look at the game log for Fott, and it feels like he's had more of an up and down season than what it's probably felt like, which is so disappointing, because it's felt like it's been kind of the breakout season for Fott. But if any casual fan goes on, Baseball Reference and looks at the stats, they're going to be like, Fott has a 5 ERA and has the most wins in the National League. Yeah, he definitely feels like he's been lucky, and that feels like it's been a fluke, but I don't think it's been the case. But that start against the Nationals was so bad. Definitely it's going to hurt his season-long stats. And then Gallen, can he turn it around? He's been searching for that fastball command all year. He's looked uncomfortable on the mound, just not typical Zach Gallen. It's not stuff you want to see for a guy who's been your ace the last few years. And now Erod, he's back in the rotation. Sounds like he's going to be pitching next week against Cincinnati. It's like Erod has been very good this year at striking out folks, but can he actually keep runs off the board? That is the most important stat that we need. I don't care how many people Erod strikes out, because it still ends up being a loss most of the time. And Recently, Erod had just not been able to go deep into ball games all season long. He's only had a couple games where he's, pitched at least 6 innings in a ball game. Just not good enough. Erod was given a pretty nice size contract, 4 years, $80 million, and he's just been an absolute bust with Arizona. And you can actually make the argument where it's like, Erod or Monty, Erod or Mad Bum. Like, I don't think Erod has been put in those discussions, but you look at the numbers and it's like Erod has been as bad as the worst Dbacks free agent signings of the last couple years, right? Erod in his career with the Dbacks, 5.99 ERA. You look at Jordan Montgomery so far, his career with the Dbacks, he's at 6.23, so it's not that far. You look at Madison Bumgarner, his career with the Dbacks, he was at 5.23. So right now, Erod is between Monty and Mad Bum in terms of his production in a Dbacks uniform. Absolutely horrendous. You do not want to see that. And so when I'm looking at this rotation, I do like the fact that Ryan Nelson is going to be back in the rotation, but the fact that he's only coming back because Corbin Burnes is hurt is insane. Ryan Nelson should have been a starter regardless if Erod is healthy or not. With how Ryan Nelson has pitched recently, with how Erod has pitched this whole season, like, we actually have a decent, not just decent, a large sample size going back to last season of Erod being bad and Ryan Nelson being good. But instead, the D-backs still have to defer to the contract of Erod and say, we're paying him a lot of money. He has to be our starter, despite having a large sample size of him being bad and a large sample size of Nelly being good. We still have to ride in a healthy rotation Erod over Nelly, which is insane and going to be another reason why the D-backs miss out on the postseason in 2025. Currently, the biggest X factor, though, is the man who we've discussed a ton on this podcast, who I've called my favorite pitcher in a D-backs uniform, but he's been so frustrating in 2025, Zach Gallen. Yes, it's weird to say the guy who's been the ace of your staff the last few years is your X factor, but it is absolutely the truth. If the D-backs want to still be a good team in 2025 and still be in position to potentially make the postseason, they need their ace, Zach Gallen, to start looking like an ace again. If you have Gallen, if you get 2021 to 2024 Gallen with normal Merrill Kelly, Brendan Pfaadt picks it up, and a Ryan Nelson, that's a rotation good enough to get you into the postseason, even without Corbin Burnes, even with Erod struggling. That four can still get you into the postseason, but only if the ace of your staff the last few seasons starts to turn it around, because he has been so bad this season, and I don't know if he can turn it around. Now, something crazy that the D-backs can do if they really want to, Christian Mena, he was called up. I mean, personally, the D-backs would never do this, but a rotation of Gallen, Kelly, Pfaadt, Nelly, and Mena over Erod would probably be better for the D-backs, because we know how bad Erod has been. And Mena does have the kind of talent where he could be a number 3 starter, potentially on the major league level. That was a fantastic trade by the D-backs. Dominic Fletcher for Christian Mena. I think Mena is going to be a major leaguer and be around for a long time. And it's like, with Burnes hurt, with Erod being bad, why not put Mena in the rotation already with the Nelly? D-backs would never do it, but it would actually raise the ceiling of this team so much more. D-backs next series against Atlanta. They head out on the road, so we'll see if they can salvage their season still. Month of June, like we discussed, this should be the time that they turn it around, because June was the time that they turned it around last season. So let's pray, let's hope June is where the D-backs start to get it going. Ivan said, "What up, big dog?" And then Corbin Burnes said, "Ryan Nelson is a dog, and I like what I see from Mena." I agree, Corbin Burnes. I agree, Ivan. That's it for this edition of the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Deuces.